All right, good morning. What's up? Welcome to another Saturday morning stream. Oh, can't minimize that one. That's the lame one. All right, let's go to the browser first. Welcome, first of all. Thanks to anyone who's watching the live stream or catches the video in the future. If you don't know, my name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord. I usually stream around this time each week, Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Central Time, here on my channel, working on stuff related to CircuitPython. If you don't know what CircuitPython is, you can learn more about it at the main website for the project here, circuitpython.org. It is basically a version of Python that runs on these tiny computers called microcontrollers. Usually the way it works with CircuitPython is you will plug this device into your computer with a USB cable. It shows up like a thumb drive, and you can edit a Python code file on that drive using whatever text editor you want. When you save it, the microcontroller will execute the Python code for you, and then your code can interface with whatever other hardware peripherals you hook up to your microcontroller. So some microcontrollers are completely sort of general purpose, like these Raspberry Pi Picos have lots of I/O pins. You can hook up loads of different things to them, but they don't do a lot, by themselves. They really need extra stuff hooked up for the most part. Whereas others are more purpose-built, like this MacroPad has a handful of key slots on it, as well as a screen and a knob, so it makes a nice little handy macro pad. You can still program it the same way, but its hardware is more sort of purpose-built towards a specific thing. So there are 654 different devices here that support CircuitPython, so there are lots and lots of different ones that cover the whole range of totally generic to totally purpose-built, like those two. So circuitpython.org, that's where you can learn more. As always, thanks to Adafruit. Adafruit is a hardware and software company based out of New York. They pay people like me. There's a team of folks who work on CircuitPython who are paid by Adafruit to do so. It is an open source project, so all the code is published under open source licenses. Everyone's allowed to see the code, fork it, do whatever you want with it, add support for your own devices, all that stuff. You don't have to pay Adafruit or anyone else to do so. You need a developer, so you might have to pay a developer if you can't do it yourself, or hire an AI bot that can do it for you. But you don't have to pay to license the code, is what I mean. So if you would like to help support CircuitPython and all of the other open source software that Adafruit makes possible by paying developers to work on, one of the easiest ways to do it is by purchasing hardware from them, which you can do at their website, adafruit.com. You can get microcontrollers like the ones we looked at on the downloads page before, as well as lots of other little bits and bobs that you can connect to your microcontroller, such as the ones that I have connected to this microcontroller here, a BMP 280 temperature humidity sensor, VEML 770 lux sensor, a DRV is at 320, I think, or 230. 260 2605L, DRV 2605L, which is a haptic motor driver, and this is a LIS 3DH. Yeah, LIS 3DH, which is an accelerometer. So we have lots of different little Adafruit stemma breakouts hooked up to this. There's also some NeoPixels here. There is a PDM microphone, which is hiding behind the NeoPixels back there, a little buzzer next to it, and a reverse TFT, and all of it is mounted on a PermaProto breadboard. And all of these items you can find at the Adafruit website if you want to build the same thing that I am building, which you will see me work on during this stream. So with that, I will plug it in, connecting the button power thing there. And I'm not going to give a huge long intro on this project, so if anyone is watching along and doesn't know what this is about or wants a quick catch-up, let me know in one of the chats, and I am happy to do so if someone's interested, but I'm going to dive more or less right in. But this is kind of like a little sidecar thing that LLMs or really anyone with a command line could access. You could do it manually if you wanted, or you could do it programmatically with some program that's not an LLM. But it gives it the ability to sense the room. It gives it the ability to express things into the room, like the vibrations and the beeping and the lights. And in this case, it gives it the ability to validate that its effects on the rooms, landed, quote unquote, landed, that it did what it thought it did. If it turns the lights on, it can also measure the lux with the light sensor and confirm that it got brighter. So that sort of feedback loop thing. And specifically, where I am jumping in right now is in the face showing stuff. So another thing it can do, because it's got a little display here, is it can show a face on the display. Why don't we do that? It's actually going to be really hard to see. One of the first things I want to add is the ability to set the color, though. So that is going to make it easier to see. So we'll start there. I need to do this. Python. Okay, so it's washed out because the camera doesn't like to pick up the light colors on the screen. But you can see it's no longer dark. It does sort of have a little smiley face on it there. You catch it in the exact right angle, the camera can see it. So I would like to be able to control the color. Right now it's just got like a light blue color, which is why the camera is getting totally washed out. So let's start there. And the way that I would like for that to work is when you pass the command. So this whole thing is kind of built on a command architecture where the client side, the thing that's not the microcontroller, can send a command to the microcontroller to say, hey, please do this. It could be show the happy face. It could be show a text message, a prompt that waits for them to press a button, the tone, the lights, the vibrations, all the things we've talked about before. But some of them also can accept arguments, and I would like for there to be an argument on the face commands for background color. And this is just gonna be, so it's going through JSON. Can you put hex in there? I don't know what happens if you put hex in JSON. So if we have some value and it's hex, so it's just going to turn to an int. It's going to turn to an int, which is fine, I think. That's fine. So background color like this, and I think I decided the other day when we tried this out that that I actually need to go quite dark in order to get it to show up on the camera. Let's try something like that. Why is this all mad? List gotta... Why would you expect a list? I have no idea why that would be, quote unquote, expecting a list. But whatever. It's definitely supposed to be a dictionary, as far as I know. No one who made it, so. So what we're going to do is here is where we have received a face command. So this is the code on the microcontroller side that receives that command. We're going to get the color, if it exists. We're going to say bg color equals arguments background color. And by default, we'll use what it does today, which is this. If they don't pass a color, then they'll get the current color, which is this light blue. And then we will pass this through here. Display face will now take the background color also. And then here. And we'll set it here instead of this. So we should be able to now pass through a darker background color. Nice. There we go. Okay, so it's much darker gray now, which the camera still sort of picks up as fairly light, all things considered. Especially if you angle it right at it. Way lighter than it looks to the naked eye. But we can see that it's working. So now we can pass whichever color we want. Which is good because I can show it on the stream. It's also good because I think it's cool that the client side could do things like, you know, blue for happy faces or green for happy faces, red for sad or whatever. Like it could use color to convey something if it wanted to. And the whole point of the idea is to give the client, LLM agent or whatever it is, the ability to convey, like express things. So the color is a nice touch. The next thing that I'll do is I want to work on the placement of these face features. So right now, these are all sort of like just whatever I felt was easiest when I was hard coding it. But I want to change that now. So on the eyes, so first of all, should probably change the order of these to go like top down, I think would make sense. So eyebrow should be above eyes. It's eyebrows, eyes. It should be then blush and then mouth. Oops. All right, that should not have broken anything. So let's make sure I actually didn't break anything. Okay. And now the thing is that all of these are sort of keyed differently. So this one is anchor point, middle horizontal, top vertical, and then it's positioned off of the top edge of the screen. This one is the same, also positioned off the top edge of the screen. This one is also the same and positioned off the top edge of the screen, but this one is different. It is 1.0 here, so it's keyed off the bottom of the image instead of the top. And then here, it is positioned based off the bottom edge of the screen. And what I really want is them all positioned relative to the same point so that there can be arguments that are just like giving it the picks, like how far to shift off of that point for each one. I think we'll just have them all assumed to be centered and then have a way to change the Y. And I think, honestly, what I want is them all just centered by default. And the client, I mean, we'll have default values, but the client will be able to specify them if they want, or really what we'll have is each face will have values. So here what we'll have is, excuse me, I think we should we make this, how should we do this? So we want to keep a pixel offset with each one of these. Doesn't really matter, but I'm going to reorder these to match the code. I think I'm just gonna, so I contemplated making it a dictionary. We could do that, I suppose. But for now, I think I'm actually just going to keep it simpler. Just give it a number. Whoa. So eyebrows, so they'll need to go, so I think what we'll do is like negative, well, yeah. Yeah, everything's relative to the middle of the screen. So if you want to go up from the middle of the screen, you go negative. So eyebrows are the farthest thing up. Currently, they're like, should split this. Oh, that one stayed there. I really want this one up here, though. I don't know why, but they were at 14 pixels off of the top. It's gonna be like, we could figure out the right spot mathematically, but I'm not going to, probably. I think the display's like 135 tall, but then it depends on the size of the image as well, so I think we'll go by the guess and check instead. So let's say probably we're gonna want something like minus 30, I'm thinking. This one, so eyes would be lower than that, so less, or a larger number. Closer to infinity, larger. Blush goes below the eyes. That was at, it was at 62 off of the top edge, actually. $62. I don't know, let's try 0. Probably we want it more than 0. Probably we want like something positive and then something a little bit more positive. Alright, let's try something like that. So face, so we should have face options now. So for one thing, we need to update this. It's not going to be eyebrows directly, it's going to be eyebrows 0 because that's the file name. And then all of these are going to be, oh, these should all be 5. Yeah, okay, so then all of these should be the values we get from this, but with 1. Oh. The color went, but none of the rest of the stuff is visible. Oh. This is wrong. This should be, this should be display height over 2 plus because we want this to be centered by default. If you gave 0, then it would be in the center of the screen vertically. Oh, they're all on eyebrows now. Whoops. Okay. So somehow I thought I copied the space. So this is eyebrows, this should be eyes, blush, mouth. There we go. Okay. And that's pretty close to what we had before. The eyebrows, I don't see the eyebrows actually. I don't know if they're... I don't know if they went too far or if they're underneath the eyes. But one way or another, the eyebrows don't seem visible. So let's try... Honestly, like well... The blush and the mouth could come down some for sure. Let's try 20 and 30 for those. And then let's move these down as well. So... Or let's just move the eyes and leave the brows. That will tell us if... That should tell us if they were behind the eyes. Okay, they were, yeah, because now they're there. So those could go higher up, the eyebrows. We definitely had those higher up before. Maybe even still. Oh, too fast. Okay, mouth could go down a little bit, and then I think it's probably fairly close to how it was before. Why can I Alt-Tab one way but not back? Alt-Tab here automatically goes between these, but that's not... Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Okay, so now that this is set up this way, we could actually also... Because what I want is to only define a few of these. So like I'm going to do happy. I'll look at the rest of them and see which ones. These were old ones. So I don't know if we'll do those exactly, but I'll do a few of them with definitions like this. But then the other thing we're going to add is a command that lets the client side specify the files. Like right now, there's this map, which is like mapping to which files to use. But in reality, there's what, 6 different blushes to pick from, all of these eyebrows, 12 different eyebrows to pick from, a bunch of eyes to pick from, 34, and a bunch of mouths, 27. And what I would like is a way to have the client side specify those files. and their positions, so that the client side can sort of build a custom face. And like the ultimate sort of future state of that idea would be like, if an LLM is controlling this thing, you could point a camera to the screen and you could tell it to like try on different faces and find some that it likes, or some that it wants to use or whatever. It can't really like it exactly, but okay. Let's work on that next. And we're pretty well set up for it already. We could just accept these options, right? Because this is just a map to some options here, we could actually just accept this whole thing through the JSON. Be a list instead of a tuple, but that's the only difference. And that's fine. So this will check for any of the faces that are like pre-defined. And what we'll do here is if command equals show face, or should we do show face or show custom face? What did I do here? I did show happy face, right? Yeah, so let's do show custom face. Custom face. And what we'll do is face config equals arguments. Face config. Isn't that what I called it in the function? Face options, actually. Options. Maybe here actually we'll just say options, since it's like show custom face, so I think face options is implied. And by default, if it's not passed, then it will just use happy face. Then it will do the same stuff as this. Arguably, these things should be inside of I think these things should be inside of here. But we don't have command. Is it worth passing in command just for that? Or the other thing is we could, well, no. Well, let's keep this out, I guess, because that will be one difference, I think, between the custom face and the predefined face. The predefined face is going to put the name, so like show happy face, it's going to keep happy face, and that's what it's going to set to this state. For custom face, we have to make a decision if we want to, like, how specific we want the state to be, basically. Because we could just put show custom, like we could just put face custom face, and then that's the end of it. But then the client side, when it gets this back, it will only be able to see custom face and it won't know what it is. And maybe that's not so bad. But I would kind of prefer it differently, if I'm honest. I would kind of prefer it to have all of the stuff, basically. I don't know. Let's do the easy way. Let's do the easy way for now. Maybe we'll think about it. Maybe what it should be is not like it shows the full config, but maybe the client could be allowed to define their own faces. So like I have happy face predefined. Maybe there could be a command for the client to say, here's the config for a face and here's the name that I'm going to use for it from now on. Bro, please don't. Why are you doing that? Okay. All right. Oop. Yeah. So let's keep it more basic for now. So this is just going to be face, custom face. This will no longer be command map command, but this time it will be face options. And then we return the ACK. Return self create command object. Okay. So we can test the version with no arguments first. Well, we'll keep the background color actually, but no face options argument, no options argument, I should say. Actually, just gonna copy both of these. Custom face background color, we'll keep this. Okay, there we go. So it correctly grabbed the default one from the mapping, and now let's make an actual custom one. Where's that mapping? Let's say mouth, animal teeth. What? I'll leave the positions alone, I think. Blush, I think. Let's just change it to one of the other ones. Oops. Brush Feckle 3. Or like whiskers, basically, kind of thing. Eyes. We got for eyes. Is there like Star eyes. Star eyes are pretty fun. Squinty eyes angry. Do those really look angry? I don't know if those look angry. These ones look more angry than these ones. And then eyebrow. Let's see. Let's pick a different one. Arched. Or we could do normal, but normal and happy are so close. A slightly different angle on the curve there, but the it's not the easiest thing probably to tell on a screen this size. Okay, so there's eyebrows. All right, so now we have a completely custom one. Maybe we'll change it ever so slightly. Let's move this down a bit. I don't know. It's not gonna make a difference that much, but just to make sure that something, make sure it doesn't like crash basically. We should be running that already, I guess, right? So then this is face options, custom face. So then we go here, options, face options. Back to this doing list again. I don't know why it wants a list. Or more appropriately, I would say I don't think it really does. I don't think it would be wanting a list, but yeah, there we go. So the mouth is probably too low now. We shouldn't have done that, but everything's definitely working. In fact, if anything, this mouth might need to come up some because the teeth make it longer than the other mouth. And it has a nose with it, which feels like it should be up higher, honestly. Still quite low. I think this one may be even in line with the blush or even above the blush because of the nose, honestly. Not quite that far. We'll get back to actual coding and not just pixel nudging in a minute, but you know, one thing we should do is have the ability to not do some of them. So like maybe you want one without blush. What would that do right now? Show face. What? Display face. Yeah, it doesn't have any way to skip one right now. So let's say here, if eyebrows in face options, does it need keys? I go back and forth on thinking this needs keys and not. If eyes, if blush. And then we'll always have a background. Honestly, we should not be recreating the background every time. We should just create the background once and change it. These ones kind of have to be recreated because they're loading a new file, and I don't know. Maybe like the tile grid could be reused, but the image, the bitmap and the palette is always going to be new. And I'm not actually sure if the tile grid could be reused. I think if the size of the image changed, then I don't think it will let you reuse the tile grid, but I don't remember for sure. This is always the same size, and the only thing that's changing is the color, and the color is completely controlled by the palette, though. So this can, like, absolutely just not be here, and instead it should... So here it should just say self.face BG palette. Is that... And we just gonna get rid of these... and put them inside of a init right after it makes the face group, which is here. Oh, sadness. I don't think it matters what color it's on by default. Okay, so now the background gets created once at the beginning. And just, we want it to be only updated here to the new color. We don't have to add it to the group because it's already in the group. Oh, but one problem we have is this. Wait, what? I thought we were emptying the face group somewhere. If I do show happy face, is it gonna stack them? Let's save what we have, I guess. I've broken it. Embodiment object has no display. Display come after this. Group is not callable. If I do one custom face, and then if I do happy face after, oh, okay, they get stacked. Yeah, I totally meant to clear that. Now, like, all of the face stuff, I mean, some of them are overlaid on each other, so you can't tell exactly, but... So really, I thought it was clearing it, and I was gonna have to change it to clear it of everything except for the background rect. But the truth is, it was not actually clearing it just yet. Let's make it so that it does. So we just... it make more sense to remove everything and then put back the background, or remove everything except the background? I thought maybe there was a clear, but I guess not. There's remove, there's pop. I thought there was a clear. I want the core docs. Wait, what? Why does this not show pop or remove? That's weird. I'm going to take a brief detour because I'm actually curious how this works if those are not listed. So now with seeing that those are not there, now my assumption is that those are not explicitly added properties. Like everything that appears in docs comes from these things. The fact that those are not listed then makes me think, for whatever reason, clear and, well, we're clear is how we got it. We're trying to figure out if clear exists, but pop and remove are not explicitly listed. Weird. I don't know how it gets those. I can say if it extends list or something, but huh. Does get item and set item? Does subscripting come automatically with pop and remove? Anyway, that's so weird. I don't know how those get tacked on there. I still just want to know if it has a clear or not. Just do this for now. I'm so silly. I'm looking on the wrong thing. I'm looking at tile grid. It's a group. Yeah, I'm being super silly here. Okay, I'm caught up. It does not have a clear. It's only pop and remove. I don't know. So let's just do we know that we want to have only one thing left. So while length of face group is greater than 1. We know it's at the beginning also. Does pop remove the... Wow, okay. Please don't spam the chat, my friend. That's not cool. About to start college. I have 3 months free time. What language or anything do I think is best to learn? CSE and AI/ML. What language is best to learn? I don't think the language you pick matters all that much. Especially going into this world where the bot can write code in most languages pretty well. I don't know that I have the best advice for you. My main advice would be to practice, right? I think practice makes better. So practicing any language for 3 months is going to get you into a better position than like trying to figure out what language to practice for a month or 2 months or whatever. Like, just pick a language and go, right? If you have no languages, if you don't know anything like what you would want, I like Python. I'm writing Python. Some people do like Python. Some people don't like Python. Lots of machine learning and scientific number crunching stuff takes place in Python, but Python can have bindings to C, so like other stuff can be added. I don't know, if you want to do more web stuff, then JavaScript, Node.js. I think the language doesn't matter so much though. Just like practice as much as you can. Make programs that do things. Even if it seems kind of like a more or less pointless thing, right? Like, make a program that does something, even if there's already a program that does it. Like, you're just trying to learn how to make stuff and how to fix mistakes and how to debug problems. That's my take on it. Okay, so while the length is greater than 1, so by default then pop does the last one, right? I think that's true. I usually do pop 0, but yeah, -1 is actually the default, and then that would be the last item. So that's actually exactly what we want. So let's just go, we're going to throw it away. So we give it placeholder underscore equals face group dot pop, and it will stop when it gets to only one thing remaining, and we know that one thing remaining should be the background. Thanks for the advice, bro. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. That should make it so that we're not stacking up multiple faces. So now we can show happy face, and then go back and show custom face. Oh. Just restarted. Probably because of auto reload. That was custom face. Actually need to do it again now since it restarted. Not being able to Alt-Tab is wigging me out. I don't like that you can Alt-Tab one way but not back. Okay, there we go. Yeah, now it's actually replacing all the rest of the things. The eyes, the blush, the mouth, the eyebrows, everything gets replaced. Okay, so now what were we doing before was we added the if statements. So on the custom face, we should be able to do it without some of the stuff. So maybe what if we said no blush, no eyebrows? Oh, failed. Local variable reference before assignment 122. Can't append it if it doesn't exist. So we should move these to inside the if statements. And they're in a different order, but it doesn't... I don't think the order matters all too much because they're not really intended to overlap necessarily. They're kind of meant to be split up. Oh, that was a copy and not a cut. There we go. Eyebrow. Okay, there we go. So now we have eyes, mouth, but no blush, no eyebrows. And in that case, theoretically, like, if we were trying to make it look better, we probably would want the eyes higher, since there's no eyebrows. Yeah. All right, cool. So we can do faces now. We can do custom faces, I mean. We can change the color. I want a command that the client side can use to get a list of all the options that are available for the custom face. So effectively a list of all the file names. So here in do command, I'm going to add another one, whoops, that says... if command is, what do we want to call it? Like list face options? List custom faces? List custom face options? I don't know, I kind of like to be as descriptive and specific as I can. It's a little bit verbose, but... and so this command does not take any arguments. In fact, the only thing it's really going to do is generate a response and then return a, what we're calling an ACK, an acknowledgement. And what we're going to do is response is an object, command, response. Isn't that how I did this before? Which one did I do this on? Well, oh, which one had a... Well, these have a proof, not a response. Which one had a response? Metadata proof. Response. There it is. Okay. Show prompt has a response. Oh, right, because it tells you the response is which button got pressed. All right, so yeah, command object response is an object, and then we can just put whatever we want onto it. So the response to the list custom face options would be, I think it'll just be a dictionary where it says eyes options is a list, blush options, mouth options, eyebrow, eyebrow. I feel like, so eyes, eye options, eyes options, eyebrows options, eyebrow. I don't like mixing the thing here, but if I'm honest, eyes sounds more natural here, and eyebrow sounds more natural here. I guess that's because on a human we tend. Well, I mean, you have two eyebrows. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why it feels that way. Okay, so those are lists, and then what we're gonna put in there is actually os.lister embodiment kit eyes. Let's make sure these are. So this one actually, they are all plural except blush. What? I don't actually really need an object. We just made it on here. All right. Yeah, there we go. So now I have a lot of stuff being printed out with not a lot of spacers between them or anything, but this is our response object. Within the response object, we would have gotten back a command object, and within that command object, it has a response now. And then this has eye options. Here's all those. Mouth options. Blush options. Eyebrow options. Cool. All right, so now the client side can actually get the full list of like, these are all the ones that are available to send to the custom face. One thing I'm not sure about is, does response really belong on the command object or not? But I think I'm leaning towards yes, because the response is related to the command. The thing is, I do have the metadata object as well. And the metadata object ends up holding a thing called proof for certain commands, like the lights on command. Oh. Uh-oh. Command 188. How did we crash here? List has no get. Why is arguments an empty list? Hmm. Oh. It's not running though. Oh. Save this? Oh, I actually don't need to save it on that side. Okay, there we go. Lights are on. And then so here inside of metadata, we now get proof, which says the idle lux level was this before the lights turned on. And then now that the lights are on, the lux level is this. So we know that it got brighter on account of the lux level going up. And then conversely, can do lights off. We also get proof. It's the opposite. There we can see proof. The idle lux level was high, 566, because the lights were on. The off lux level is lower, 59, because we turned the lights back off. Okay. What else do I want to do right now on the stream? I think next I would like to go ahead and test this with the HTTP server version. One thing is we can get rid of this. This is old. Can get rid of these. Eventually I'll make a few more of these, but like I said, I don't want to make too many of them because it is sort of tedious to lay them out. But it's kind of a thing, like people can add whichever faces they want, and then because of the custom thing, the client side can actually just create whatever face it wants, even if it's not pre-loaded. And like I said, it would be cool maybe to do a way for it to save them somehow. Maybe save them to NVM or possibly make the thing writable for a second. I don't know. That's a little... It gets a little dicey. I don't know if we want to do that. How much storage does this one have? Could we make a saves? I don't know. Sometimes I wish we could enable CP saves on more devices, or like the user could have the ability. You know, Dan actually added a bunch of stuff to settings tumble. I wonder if it's feasible at all. It's probably not though, right? Because when you like, it probably needs to set that up when you call erase file system. Maybe we could pass something to erase file system. Not sure if it needs like something special turned on though. The build. Anyway, that's like down a different road there. Yeah, let's try the HTTP server version. So this should be set up in such a way where it's like relatively easy. To just have it hooked up to HTTP server instead of MQTT. So this one is a bit behind, but all of this basically all now be the same as here. Be missing a ton of imports. Actually, we don't want to do it that way because I don't need the MQTT stuff. We should probably be doing that stuff. I already had the MQTT stuff, actually. Multiple copies. Are we using? We are using NTP in this one. I don't remember exactly why I did that. Oh, actually, this is doing it as well. Why did it say it was not using this? Why does it say it's not using this when literally right here it is? There's two of them. Okay. Caught up now. Digital I/O. Okay. Theoretically, after just that, the rest of this should basically be the same. It just is using an HTTP server with a post endpoint. You send it some JSON through that instead of what we were doing a second ago, which was sending the JSON into Adafruit IO MQTT feed. So we basically just changed the transport with this. Theoretically, we should be able to put that into CodePy. And I feel like I had a script for this, but I remember the name. Embodiment, that's it right there, actually. Should be HTTP server. I don't know why I did HTTPS. Okay, we can't do this face, actually. That's one of the few things that doesn't... Alright, cool. So then let's make sure that the... Oh, okay, we don't have the... Alright, there we go. So that is on a 111. And this one doesn't require any environment variables because it doesn't need the Adafruit IO token. HTTP server does actually support using a token inside of a header or something like this authorization bearer token type thing. We could do that if we wanted. I could copy the name of this. I really can't though, I don't think. You can rename it and then maybe copy it, but I don't rename it either. Action aborted. Oh, disconnected. Oh, it's crashed. List has no get. Oh, that's the same thing, right? Arguments should be. I think I just. I don't know why. I don't know why I did not see that crash before, honestly, though, because I started doing arguments a while ago. A few different ones already were taking arguments, and should have been crashing on all the other ones. I would have thought, but. All right, there we go. Happy face. I didn't specify the color, so we got super de-duper bright blue, which again the camera washes out. But at this point, we could grab this whole list of all of these things. Options. Nice. There we go. Okay. Cool. The other endpoint that I do think, or channel transport layer that I do think would be kind of cool would be USB. But do I want to do that one directly right now? Yeah, I could work on that one. Yeah, I don't think it'll take too long, honestly. I think it's basically another version of this. HTTP server 1, we just rip out the HTTP server and add in serial. Now, one thing I do want to do, I think, is enable the data channel or whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called technically. Any different if we go this way? This is not the guide I want. Is it like USB? This customizing USB devices. This is the guide I want. In serial. Mass storage, MIDI. This is what I want. So there's the normal USB serial, which the REPL rides on. That's what we can see here. And I can Control C and Control D and do all the stuff with it. And that's kind of like okay a little bit, but the problem is if you want a communications channel for the computer to talk back and forth with the microcontroller programmatically, the REPL is not the best one because anytime the Python code prints, it goes to the REPL, which would mean it would go to the PC. So like you could print to there and you could make sure to only print things you want to go to the PC, and then it kind of basically works. But if you want to print like debugging information to yourself, then it's kind of annoying. Or if you want to be able to like see a stack trace or something, it's kind of annoying because then your other program is consuming the REPL endpoint. So only one thing can be connected. This gives you a second channel where the PC and the microcontroller can be talking serial over this other USB channel. But it doesn't do the print messages, it doesn't do the tracebacks, it doesn't put anything else in there. I want both. This is a bootpy thing. Right now there's only ACM 0. This is true. So save this and then like reboot, or maybe even full on power off, power on, which is what I just did. Unplug, replug, basically. Do anything interesting in here? Oh, this connected, reconnected. This was doing booting and stuff. In safe mode. USB devices need more endpoints than are available. Alright, so maybe we don't have enough to do that. Can we disable MIDI and HID? I don't need HID either. I don't need either of these. Alright, unfortunately, it printed the message that contained the useful information onto this, well, into the serial REPL before TIO was connected here. So this like disconnect, reconnect, it's like booting, hard crashing, or whatever it's doing, disconnect, reconnect, and then it printed this, but it printed it between these two, so we can't see it here. It's only on this tiny screen. And it does say USB devices need more endpoints than are available. I really want to use the second one, though. That's kind of bummer. So I need ESP stuff. Yeah. All right. That I don't want. Hmm. I never knew that limitation on ESP devices. ESP32, S2, and S3. Basically, you just can't. There's basically not room for anything extra. There's room for REPL and CircuitPy, and that's it. If you wanted to use anything else, you have to turn off REPL or CircuitPy. It's talking about a pair 0, but that's only 2 pairs. How is this talking about there's 6 pairs? Let's read this. An endpoint is a low-level communications channel. Typically, endpoints are paired. Each endpoint pair has an in and an out. The naming is from the point of view of the host. In means sending data from the device to the host. Out means sending data from the host to the device. Endpoint pairs are numbered starting at 0. 0 is always reserved for USB setup and control, so we can't use it. We start at 0, but we can't use 0, so basically we start at 1. Each separate device needs 1 or more, so CircuitPy needs 1 pair. MIDI needs 1 pair. CDC which includes console and data, Shouldn't it? I feel like we lost one here. So this says one endpoint for control, and then one pair for data. For a total of 2 pairs for each CDC device. Okay, so the 2 pairs is meaning we're throwing away this output, but we technically have 2 pairs. Okay, so it's not 2 pairs in addition to 1. It's technically just 2 pairs, or it's actually really technically just 1 pair and 1 in, but the in is paired with an out, so we have no choice. Okay. So each of those takes 2 pairs, which is rough. The REPL takes 2 pairs, data would take 2 pairs. So here we have CircuitPy takes a pair, MIDI takes a pair, CDC for REPL would actually take 2 pairs. HID would take another pair. For each composite device. I don't know what that means. I assume that's like maybe if you're pretending to be a keyboard and a mouse, then that's 2. And this effectively only provides 4 pairs. So we use 1 pair for CircuitPy. We use 2 pairs for REPL. We only have 1 pair left. And we can't use it for data because that takes 2 pairs. So we could have MIDI or HID. We can't have both. And disabling both doesn't help us because we only free up a maximum of 1 pair and we need 2 pairs. So it really does boil down to you would have to either disable CircuitPy or REPL. Neither of which I want to do. Trying to think if it would make sense to use a different feather. The truth is, though, like, no, not really, because the only feathers that have a built-in display are feather TFT and the feather reverse TFT being the one I'm using. I like the buttons on the reverse TFT. We actually have a show prompt command, which is using the buttons. Changing to the non-reverse would not help us anyway because it's also an ESP32S3. So that's not going to be, that's going to have the same number of endpoints as this one does. Yeah, I mean, it would be janky, but you could break out the TX and RX pins, I guess, and use like a USB serial adapter, FTDI friend type action, but like, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, going through the USB was definitely what I had in mind. So it's basically either like it's pretty much REPL or nothing, right? It's pretty much we either use the REPL as the serial USB channel or we don't get serial USB. neither of which are super great choices, so I don't know if we might just end up without it. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Be worth trying to like mount this here somehow so that it's always in front of the light. Right now it's just kind of floating. Alright, well, that's okay. Honestly, MQTT is kind of like the primary means anyway. HTTP server was the main one I wanted to add. USB I thought would be a cool sort of like bonus extra credit thing there on the end. Turns out that's a little bit trickier. And I guess I just never noticed this before because of the way like you can do MIDI or HID. So I'm sure at some point I've enabled one of those, but I wonder what the newer feathers are like. Feather C6 or P4 or whatever. I wonder if those have the same USB thing going on or if they have more. You know what's weird though is the feather, the S3 like Kaluga or whatever, but I guess it just doesn't do... What? I got the wrong name? No, it's this thing, right? Whatever, I don't know if Kaluga, maybe that was a different thing. But in any case, this thing is an S3, and it has 2 USB ports. But maybe that's just using all 4. Maybe that's doing 2 CDCs, and they have no CircuitPy by default. Yeah. So that's maybe basically the same thing as what we have is... They're basically doing 2 serial ports instead of 1 serial port and 1 mass storage. And then the other difference is they've split it into 2 actual physical plugs. But obviously both physical plugs have wires that run back into the same main chip. That's interesting. SparkFun has, I didn't know SparkFun did feather form factors. That's pretty cool. They put the stemma on the side with the battery. That's interesting. Is it actually feather? So you have 4 pins here, right? I think. Must be. Oh, they actually have quite a few. Nice. Maybe they're longer. I can't tell if it's actually feather or not. I have to count the pins. Feather form factor. All right. We may just. I think I may wrap it up there. We basically have. I basically have the whole like. I'll make a few more faces, but as far as like nuts and bolts code behavior, I think I'm pretty much set here on the microcontroller side. So the next thing to do basically is going to be wrap these command sending scripts. In fact, I think I have the start of one here somewhere. Let me see. Yeah, send command CLI. So I have this command line interface one, which is meant to be a more command line callable utility version of this script here that I've been just testing with, right? This script basically creates a single command and sends it, and then waits for the response back and validates that it was correct or whatever. But this one, but the command is hard coded, right? I've just been coming in here and commenting, uncommenting. This one lets you actually pass on the command line which command you want to run. So this needs to be expanded a little bit. Actually, it might not. Looking at it right now, I mean, it has command for the name of the command. It has arguments. Okay, so this is saying a list. We'll need to make sure that arguments can come through as a dictionary, because that thing... Did I switch? Maybe is that why it wasn't... No, I always was doing arguments.get. Always was doing arguments.get. I don't know why that just started crashing today. That's weird. We'll need to make sure this sends... Yeah, see here, this is making a list. We don't want that. We need to make a dictionary, which means here we actually need, instead of arguments as a list, it should be like argument name, argument value, argument name, argument value, pairs. And then beyond that, this actually looks pretty good. One thing I would like is a list of commands. Like this lets you run commands, but it doesn't tell you which commands exist. So in the help printout, which comes from somewhere in here, maybe by default somehow, it basically prints this stuff. I would want to add to that to say, like, here's the actual comprehensive list of available commands, and then it would list them all out. But that's actually not... I had forgotten that this was already sort of dynamically allowing you to pass the command like this. I could have actually been using this to test the whole time, but that's fine. This actually makes it super easy. One thing I will still... One other change maybe to make here is swapping out AIO. Right now, this is always going through Adafruit.io. So MQTT, we could make a version of this file where it lets you specify if you want Adafruit.io MQTT versus HTTP server. And if we ever get USB going, you could put that as well, but we'll see on that one. Yeah, I think that is going to do it for now. So this really only needs a few tweaks, and then we're pretty much ready for the guide. So I'll be starting the guide this week probably, and trying to wrap it up over the week if I can. That's going to do it for today. So thank you to everyone for watching. Hope you all have a good rest of your day today and a good weekend and all that stuff. I will be back on Tuesday over on the Adafruit channel, 10 a.m. Central, where I will be working on some more CircuitPython stuff. As far as I know, I should also be back next week on Saturday, I think. It's always a chance something comes up, but as far as I know, I'll be around next Saturday as well. So 1 week from today, the 23rd, also 10 a.m. Central Time here on my channel. Until then, I will bid you farewell. So long. Thanks for watching. See you later.